getting that. We'll be checking references before we make a recommendation to the school board. And we'll be certainly checking out various references. They had to supply references in their bid. So just today, we'll be triple checking our numbers and we'll making a presentation to the school board next month for action.
And when would this begin? Is this a July 1 contract?
This is actually May 15th.
May 15th, so next board meeting. Okay.
Just
Oh, we have a question.
go ahead.
Oh, just as a newcomer, I was curious what the bid policy is. What are the thresholds? Is it 25,000 per bid? Does it go to sealed bids at any point?
It's 25,000 and for most items. There are exceptions, and there are about a list of 10 different exceptions from the $25,000. But then a capital project is $50,000. So 25,000. One notable exceptions to the bid laws are textbooks, food, consumable food, copiers, technology, architectural services is an RFP. There's about 10 different exceptions for it, but generally it's 25,000. This was set up as a formal bid, legal notice in the paper, and that we feel that we have to conduct this as the lowest responsible bidder. We don't.
So is it the value, I'm assuming do all $25,000 bids come to the board for approval, or is this?
Yes, any bid that's conducted in the manner where we place an ad in the paper, we set the time to open up sealed bids at 10 o'clock today. I think four companies were present when we opened up the sealed bids.
So even a $25,000 bid is a sealed bid?
Correct.
There's no, looking up the prices on the internet?
Right, no, whether it's $25,001 or $200,000.
Right, that's actually very good.
Same process. Okay. And then it would be $50,000 for a capital project.
So taking a step back, since this is a new committee and we're kind of just, this one was already out there, but I mean, from how this committee is going to be involved in the whole process, can you take us from like the start, like what feedback you're looking for from this committee from RFP to when you get the bid, which is where we're at now, so taking us back.
And Steve has done this before with the other places he's worked, and we're under a time frame with this now. But typically, we would be able to bring the bid specs and share it with the committee so that those questions are answered ahead of time. Basically, here are the specifics of the bid moving forward. And a perfect example, I guess we can kind of give the example of Aunt Nancy's right now, if you would want to, Chris, and we can talk about how we're kind of going through that process right now. With Aunt Nancy's, Steve's done quite a bit of research to do a competitive bid for our daycare services. We have daycares in our buildings. In his research, the DCFS has to provide a site license for a company, and our concern is that, even in their manuals, it's a 6-month time frame. So we don't believe we will be able to get that concluded by the time the start of school. We don't want to have a changeover in September, October. We'd be hiring quite a few subs. So what we're looking to do is a 1-year board-approved agreement with Aunt Nancy's. In November, we would prepare bid specs to go to a competitive bid for services that would start July 1 of the following year. And we would bring the different perspectives to this board. And Steve can talk a little bit about rates and that sort of thing. Go ahead and give us your thoughts on that.
There's a number of ways we could structure, and it would probably be more of an RFP than a sealed bid, and lowest responsible bidder, because it's a service, it's a very unique service. So I think we could put some subjectivity into it, and we probably do a matrix. Say, finance is 51%, references is staffing is 30% of our consideration, and we bring the results. But when you set up a bid like this, we could say we could set wage structures, saying you have to pay X amount of money, because we don't want somebody coming in low thinking that they're going to have minimum wage people and the services. And I've did this on other services. We say you have to have a certain wage structure, a certain staffing structure. We may say you have to provide X amount of rent, or we could make it open, we can make that the competitive process. You know, how much rent would you provide, given all the parameters? You know, we could set tuition, this is tuition, you can charge no more, no less. You know, so, we've done a lot of research, and we'll bring options of how we would like to design the RFP, but certainly get some input, and ultimately, you know, we would like, you know, sign off from the school board, and before we actually put that RFP out to prospective daycare providers. But with the timeline, this year, we decided to, you know, to go to the RFP, to the bid process in February, March or so. You know, when we did the research, we said it's too risky to try to push through a potential new provider, a new license, and without upheaving the whole process, and, you know, the students being able to, the children being able to be served in a daycare on a timely basis.
Is it the provider's license or the school's license?
Oh, it's a private provider's license.
Okay, so whoever bids, whether it's RFP or.
Right, so as soon as then they have to start the process of getting licensing, so they need, and in the DCF handbook says 6 months, you have to submit 6 months in advance to get a license.
Is that license unique to being in a school, or would?
No,
any
just
daycare?
that facility is being approved with that provider.
Okay, so it's a facility provider link.
Yeah, so even if an existing company, daycare providers, open up a new building, they would have to get licensed for that building. And then when your license is up and it's renewal, it's 3 months. So I even talked to prospective companies that would be interested in bidding on the service, and they agreed that this is too tight of a timeline to be able to try to, it might be able to happen, you know, but you might have to be trying to pull strings and calling people, and there's 5 different inspections, they're all from DCFS, and they're understaffed, and in their experiences, it's sometimes difficult to get things done on a timely basis.
And the other purpose to bring it to this group is the transparency that we are bidding our major items. And that's important, and that's something we've improved upon the last couple of years. Bring competition to the table to lower our costs. Last year, when we bid our custodial services, we reduced, how many? About $400,000 over the course of a year by going to a competitive bid structure, and hadn't done that for a while. And so to bring these to the group to get input, I believe will be valuable as we continue to look for ways to cut those costs.
I have a question regarding
Yes.
Nancy's though. If we're going, is it gone to the board yet?
It is not, but it's going to.
So how are you determining the rent for this coming year?
We're negotiating that right now, Denise, and it would be a difficult spot to say we're not gonna have it at all next year.
Understood.
And so, you know, we need to find some middle ground to get a year, and then begin the competitive process.
When do you expect that to go before the board?
Steve's been talking with him probably in the next, it's gotta be May or June, because we wanna do a July 1 to July 1 contract.
And if I may, Steve, there was a question, can you explain maybe to the group the difference between an RFP and a bid?
An RFP is a request for proposal, and depending on how you structure an RFP, one, it doesn't have to be an ad in the paper. And it doesn't have to have a sealed bid, and you typically invite people to propose with the RFP, but very similar specs though. But, and the standard for awarding it is not necessarily the lowest responsible bidder. You could use some subjectivity for it. That's why some of the exceptions are technology. You know, you just don't want the lowest bidder on technology items, because, especially if you're doing infrastructure, and you know, you prefer a certain provider because you have a lot of confidence that they're gonna get the job done. And same thing with other types of service. Most RFPs all relate to services, not commodities. So which Nancy's would be a service. Yeah, but almost all RFPs would be service related for the most part.
And we have other bids right now. Right now, we have waste removal, correct, coming up?
Yeah, that's gonna be opened up in May. We opened up another one today. This one is, I won't pass it. We have a summary spreadsheet. It's for, the paper products, for custodial, for the restrooms. And when Mr. Wilkie brought up a great cost-saving measure through this process, and that is to go to the universal dispensers. And we'll be writing a memo up, and we'll bring it to the school board. But it's by switching the dispensers from N-Motion, which you can only buy certain products for that. Now, they're great products, but they're very, very expensive for those dispensers. By putting in new dispensers, actually, the cost savings will be that so significant, it'll pay for itself in 1 year, less than a year. And then moving forward, we were gonna quantify it, but we were thinking $30,000 to $40,000 in savings. 30, 40,000 after the first year, 30, 40,000 in savings by going to new dispensers in our restrooms. And we're gonna make a determination also. We got individual pricing for if we install it, whether they install it or we don't necessarily, so we're looking to do installing ourselves, but we do have options to pay for the installation. And we still have to spend some time looking at their products, their dispensers, before making a recommendation to the school board. But that was a sealed bid, and we invited 9 companies, we received 6 bids, so a very competitive process, and we'll have a summary for the school board next month as well for action item on those supplies.
So to kind of step back, so most of the input from this committee will be in when we're forming the RFP or the bid process, which we don't have any right now.
And they'll see the bid results.
Yeah,
And they'll see the bid results.
then it'll go to the board for kind of approval to go out. We'll see the results, and then the board will approve. So that's kind of the process.
Correct.
And we won't take any formal action here. It's pretty much consensus. We're looking for feedback, input, and to some extent, if we don't hear disagreement, then you're in agreement. So certainly speak up if you think, and disagreement may not be just a better idea. Not that you just disagree with the whole process entirely. You just got a good idea for us, and please share that with us.
So the bid threshold is the 2550. What is the board approval threshold?
Can you repeat that question, please?
The bid threshold is the 2550. What is the board approval threshold? What does the board have to approve over?
Well, the board approves all checks, so every check.
Right, but that's like after the fact.
After the fact,
Right.
there's no, that's the process, and as far as.
The board is approving every $25,000 bid
Bid.
or RFP up front though, right? So it's going to the board before the contract's signed.
Right.
That's, I think, what we're asking.
Yeah, but like I go when I buy $5,000 worth of chairs for my department. If I exceed $5,000, I have to get board approval before I buy the chairs. Is that, you don't have that approval level?
There is a board approval of $12,500 in the event that there's a improvement or renovation, permanent alteration to buildings or grounds.
So a
That
capital.
exceeds 12.5, we would bring that to the board
First.
per policy first.
Okay.
And that actually includes our time and our labor. So we would have to put a project together and bring it to the board prior to executing the work.
Is that for all projects? But you're talking about improvements and renovations, but is it all projects that are 12,550?
Permanent alterations to the school building or the grounds is the way it's worded in the board policy.
Any other discussion? Then the final item, Dr. Tingley, Frankfurt Square Park District Intergovernmental Agreement.
Well, as Jim had mentioned, we've had a long-standing relationship with the Frankfurt Square Park District, and we've been in discussions for the potential use of the athletic outdoor fields, the field house, fitness center, weight room at Lincoln Way North. And they presented us with an intergovernmental agreement. I was gonna get that back to you. I just received it back from the attorney at about 6:30 this evening with some suggested changes. I'll be talking with Mr. Randall tomorrow and see if we can get that put in place. But Rich has run some numbers that I'd like to share with the group and kind of discuss moving forward. Rich, if you have those.
Yeah. First of all, Mr. Randall provided this list of revenue or services that he would be providing to
So
the school
a
district.
service in kind type of deal.
And then we looked at our utility costs and some maintenance costs at Lincoln Way North.
Speak up,
Second.
please.
We looked at some utility and maintenance costs at Lincoln Way North in regards to any increased expenditures the school district would have with the park district using the facilities. And we believe that the revenue provided by the park district and the services provided by the park district would offset any increase in utility costs at Lincoln Way North, at the school building.
How does that, the landscaping bid for north, and I see it is a little bit less than the other campuses, I mean, is this in addition to the?
The landscaping bid at North, the way that Brickman bid that was the way that they currently maintain it, which is they do about half of the work there.
Park District does the other
The
half.
park district does the other half. Moving forward, in the event that we do not enter into an intergovernmental agreement, we would then have to contract for the entire amount, which you can see there's $45,956 on your, on the table that shows the
Okay,
cost
yeah.
over at
Which is
Lincoln Way
similar to
North.
what Brickman is charging for east and west.
Any questions or comments?
Sorry, I think I may have missed that. It was, the landscaping expenses on the first sheet that was passed around, the 115,467, those are in addition to the Brickman or whoever the vendor is that selected on the original.
Yeah, I think the question was, and it was noted, that on this sheet here, it says, Brickman, doing the landscaping at North was $29,501.
Per year. Okay.
Per year, and then if you look at this, it says landscaping at North is $45,956.
Okay.
Where's the discrepancy? Well, this, Brickman is not doing all the work at
Yeah, no,
North
absolutely.
now, and that's why the lower price. If
So-
we were to contract for the whole, all of North, it would be that actually, that $45,000 is a quote that they received from Brickman.
Yes.
So if we would enter into an intergovernmental agreement, we would have no cost. Frankfurt Square Park District would take up the total $45,900 for landscaping.
So this means, for example, we're getting the usage of the golf course for the golf teams
Correct.
as a service.
As a service, yes. Yes.
We're basically looking just to pass the cost of keeping the additional, additional incremental utilities.
Yes.
Are being passed on to the park district, is all we're looking to do, is just,
Yes.
break even on that.
Break even, and we felt that that's or at least in my opinion, that's a effective use of the facilities for the community. The community can stay engaged, we can keep that, keep that facility in use.
Keep the landscaping, keep the lights on, keep
Yes.
people coming in and out. That
Athletic
makes sense.
fields, yes.
How did you come up,
Sorry.
how did you come up with the estimated utility usage?
The estimated.
Of it's like about 18%?
Yeah, it's about 18%, and what that is it's an area of that facility, so it's just movement by square feet. facility is not air conditioned, so we made an adjustment to the utilities to reflect, that it's not air conditioned. We know that it costs about 20% more in the summer months, with electricity. So, and we also use some extra gas when we run air conditioning because of the way our systems operate. So then we reduced the amount from cost of FY15, which was actual, by 10% on electricity and 5% on natural gas. And then of what was left, we took the 18%, assuming that the building would be occupied as it was when it was open, just for those square feet. So, to be honest with you, we feel very comfortable that these numbers, we won't exceed that. The square footage method doesn't take into consideration the air handling equipment is more efficient for a larger area. The lighting isn't as intense. There's no refrigeration or anything in those areas. So the load is a little bit different. We feel that we're.
Can you please speak up?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was saying that by using the square footage method, we feel that these estimates may be a little bit high for utilities, which would mean we feel we'll probably spend a little bit less.
So maybe possibly a little better than break even.
Any other items or discussions? All right, moving on, other business, does anybody else have anything else they would like to add to the meeting? Anne Reed?
No, I have lots of questions, but I'll wait.
If there are no other items for discussion or other business, our next meeting is scheduled for May 24th. Again, we will probably most likely meet here. I'd like to thank all of these new members for this volunteer position. I have never met any of these people before. We strictly went by your resumes and your applications, and so I'd like to thank you. I'd also like to publicly say I have not had any discussions with Dr. Wiley in over 13 years. Not seen him, not contacted him, there's been nothing. So this is a fresh board. We're looking forward